Welcome back to Sports Talk's GameBreakers here on Prime Video. I am Eitan Levine. Today I'm joined by Baker Machado himself over here to my right in studio right now. I'll say it. You gotta say it with me now, by the way. What a freaking booking! Give it up for contributing writer to Racket Magazine, Patrick Sauer.
Yes, Patrick!
What's going on, Patrick?
Thanks for having me.
This is a very random interview that I think is about to happen. Where
but you know what? People will be so happy that we're doing this interview after this because your summer book club reading just got way better.
It got insanely better. That's what we do here, by the way. We're all about reading. We're very, very smart people
you know
here.
what, guys? If you can see this reading, it's fundamental. I have it right.
You know what I read every day? The Constitution. That's right. I look like, by the way, that I say that. You know, a little thing called the Bill of Rights, never. Anyway, so you wrote an article in 2020 in Racket Magazine about murder mysteries, tennis murder mysteries. And this somehow came across our desk. Canadian JMO, our producer, found it. I don't know if we can show it, by the way. So we have, we just want to talk to you a little bit about like the genre of tennis-themed murder mystery novels. First question, why did you focus on this?
It was, and you're right, that was one of the more random emails I got. I was like, would you like to, for this? It was their height of quarantine, and I think there was just sort of there may have been a note like, we're looking for stories about what we miss about tennis. And I think I thought like, what should do something about tennis movies? It's kind of been done before. And then I just took a flyer, because I do read mysteries, and I'm like, I wonder if there's tennis mysteries. And I found a list of exactly 25. I put a couple parameters on them. It had to be post 68 for the open era, and about 96 because I don't like mysteries solved by the internet.
So the article that you wrote, you read 6 novels and you had them go between 1968 and 1996.
And that was all of them.
Yeah.
And nobody's done anything ever since. But like, I guess the question would be, why aren't there more tennis mysteries out there? Are there more football mysteries, more baseball mysteries? Is sort of tennis sort of like the outlier in all this?
Well, you know, the sport that has the most is the sport that also has the best movies, boxing.
Yeah.
Because it's so seedy to begin with.
Yeah.
There are some baseball mysteries, and the Mystery Bookstore, which is downtown, the guy has put out a bunch of different books around different sports. And I think the tennis one, if I recall, he said, like, nobody bought it. Like, there's just not, whatever the cross-section between mystery readers and tennis fans, which you think, if you go back to, like, lawn tennis and Agatha Christie, this is a natural.
Yeah.
I would feel so, too, because it's like you're dealing with class and like, you know, fancy, like, courts that they're going to. And all this. Yeah, it's
tennis
money.
Players are
Rolexes on dead bodies.
Yes.
Tennis players are nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, as just general high-strung, insane people. So,
I also feel like the names like are perfect. I mean, like Set to Kill, Point Break. I feel like a tennis mystery like writes itself.
Can we actually go through them, I guess, like one by one? You know, what was your favorite one of the 6 that you had reviewed?
Well, there's only one that was good.
Which is?
There's a guy named Jack Bickham who did write a series. His book was Breakfast at Wimbledon. The main character is a former tennis pro who played on the circuit, who's also a Vietnam vet. And they set up a thing where he goes around to major tournaments as a journalist, but really he's working for the CIA to cover various tennis tournaments around the world. It's ridiculous, but the thing about it that separates from all the other ones is Jack Bickham's a tennis fan. One, he knows how to write a thriller, and 2, he actually knows tennis. A lot of these books seem to have been written by somebody who's never actually watched a tennis match. So the Jack Bickham series, I only read one of them. I've gotten a couple more. If you want to read a good one, that's Jack Bickham. I think he did 5 between like 86 and 95 or something. Those are the only. His are the
What was the
only
CIA
worthwhile.
doing at those tennis matches, though?
Well, in Breakfast at Wimbledon, the IRA was going to bomb center court.
Yeah. Which sounds legit.
Yeah. Well, I was like, this is just plausible enough in 1986. And Prince Andrew was going to be there with Fergie. What's great about this book, though, is it uses real tennis players, and he's a qualifier, right? Like the CIA gets him in. And then he goes on like a Jimmy Connors 1991 run. So there's a whole chapter of him playing John McEnroe while his body's falling apart.
Really?
Coco Gauff is an agent. Coco Gauff is an agent. Coco Gauff works for the FBI.
But you say in the piece, you had read over 2,000 pages of these random books that you probably like were collecting all over the place. Was there ever a point when you were reading these and you're like, this is so awful. I want to stop after page 5. Like, I'm done with this one.
Weirdly, I read Bickham last, which made me happy. They actually got worse as I went along, and that wasn't on purpose. It was just this little stack, and there's one that's, this is a comedy show, so we won't go too far in, but what made it so awful is the main character's redemption story is that he becomes a better man, particularly to his wife. What is he being redeemed from? He's a rapist.
Oh my God.
And that was like...
Which one was that?
It's called Sudden Death. One of two that I read called Sudden Death, which it should be noted, not a tennis thing. There's no sudden death in tennis, but 10-point tiebreaker, just not as exciting.
Wait, that is so funny. There's no such thing as a sudden death, but all these are called sudden death.
That's the irony is hilarious.
Oh my God.
And the guy who wrote that, though, was like one of the founders of... what was the Bill O'Reilly? A Current Affair. He was like part of the whole Murdoch Australian empire. So I thought, well, this guy's got to have some tawdry goods. Then it turns out to be like, well, this is just wrong.
I want to make an ice hockey murder novel and call it Touchdown.
Well, I was going to say, since you
hockey
kind of
murder.
stopped in 1996, do you feel like now that you've read all of these, that maybe you feel like there's another career for you of writing, Novak Djokovic, the murder mystery novels coming soon?
I mean, if you could have like, if all three of them, the big three went, even though I know Djokovic is now his own, but yeah, Nadal, Federer, Djokovic all go down within a few months of each other.
I think also Djokovic, if I'm not mistaken, thinks that everything that happened in 2020 was a murder mystery.
Could be, yeah. Like, look, there's so much material there.
Yeah. Let's talk about, so what was your, aside from the rapist one, which we're not going to get into, what was the one after that you thought was just like awful, awful, awful?
There's one that had a great setup, and it's written by Groucho Marx's son.
Yes.
I saw that
Arthur
one,
Marx. So there's a famous Los Angeles club that was set up by Jewish actors, comedians in the 20s.
This one's called Set to Kill, by the way.
Yeah.
Set to Kill.
Yes, a murder at the Beverly Hills Tennis Club.
And the setup is great. As a failed TV writer for shows like, Murder, She Wrote or Jake and the Fat Man or whatever.
Yeah.
He's down and out, and he owes a bunch of money for rent, blah, 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 and they offer him a job managing the club, which comes with a free luxury apartment. So the milieu of it is great. There's like all these, you can just kind of, as I think I said, you can smell the new tennis balls and the old cigar smoke, like... Just,
are you Jewish at all?
I am not.
Let me just say, by the way, this is actually a very typical Jewish life experience, okay? In order to become a bar mitzvah, you have to become a tennis pro at the Beverly Hills Club and make it out of a murder mystery.
Yes,
that's
part of the bar mitzvah.
Did you, with that one specifically, how much of like Beverly Hills' like social scene, the lifestyle, like leads to a murder mystery, like in tennis? What I mean by that is like, it's so much luxury, Do they all have to have this like big luxurious setting, or is there any like lower stakes, like there's just tennis that's happening and there's a murder near it?
These are all that one in particular, but these are all sort of high stakes. Like a couple of them take place in the other sudden death involves a mansion near the U.S. Open where all the tennis players are staying because that's something that would happen. It's no, I think that's maybe part of it. Like it might be better to have some books about like people who play on the public courts, like some actual real seeming people. Almost all of these, they seem just ridiculous on their face.
Yeah.
The Arthur Marx one is pretty good for a while. It's just then the plot is very bad. Also, again, with the massage, he has a Hawaiian girlfriend literally named Jenny Ho.
Yeah.
Just not.
But I also feel like Sabalenka's tennis racket that she destroyed could be a murder weapon after
Easily.
like this weekend.
Well, wasn't that the death weapon used in so many of these is just like getting like hit by like a racket?
tennis racket.
There's one set at the Tokyo Tennis Club, and both of the murders are samurai sword style with rackets.
So that is what I wanted to talk about next was because there was one that was a murder at the Tokyo Tennis Club. That one, it seemed to be like was heavily invested in like the era, like it was like a timepiece.
Yeah.
Talk to me about like how you saw that era in Japan represented in this movie. Sorry, in this book.
That the author lived in Tokyo. He was an expat, and it felt to me like this was a guy who probably spent a lot of time at this club and had an idea for a murder, and he's like, I'm going to use a tennis racket as a weapon. The big chunk in the middle is a memoir written by another character that has nothing to do with the tennis club. Also, the main detective is a baseball fan who doesn't know anything about tennis.
Oh, yeah.
So it was very much I love this era, or I love this tennis club. Wouldn't it be cool if somebody got brained with a tennis racket? I'm out of ideas about this tennis club.
I like baseball, though.
Patrick, with the few minutes that we have left with you, let's just talk about the Open from the weekend, which was incredible from a fan's perspective. What was sort of your takeaway from Coco Gauff, from Djokovic, from Ben Shelton, sort of what we saw in Flushing this weekend.
Well, this is probably American bias, but I think the story of the weekend was Coco.
I agree.
Even though Djokovic set the record, it felt like a foregone conclusion once Alcaraz was out.
Yeah.
Whatever you feel about Djokovic, he does not seem to have the juice that Coco has. And I was in a bar in Philadelphia, college football's Saturday, but they had it on a lot, and people were standing ovation at the end. It was great for me because my daughter's going to be 13, and we actually were at the Open 5 years ago and just went to a juniors match, and Corey Goff was dialing up like 100-mile-an-hour serves, and I was like, she seems like one to watch. So it was like my daughter's first time, like, oh, a peer, somebody I know better than you. She's just got a great personality. She's hilarious. And also, you know, there's so much pressure on Americans now why can't we go to tennis, you know? It's more the men than the women,
I got one question before we go to break. If you had to pick any current tennis player that was at the U.S. Open, who would be the most interesting one to get murdered? And like in that you can see a novel being like written around, and I say interesting, and who would do the murdering?
I think Tiafoe getting murdered would be the most interesting because you know, he is one of the few that didn't come up.
He's hot. He's hot. Yeah.
I would like to, if I could pin something on John Isner, that'd be fine by me. So I'm gonna go with he's mad because he never won a Grand Slam. Takes out Tiafoe.
I'm going with Ben Shelton getting stabbed by a phone.
Oh, like this?
Yeah.
Like this?
Someone or strangled by a phone.
Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
By the way, I think you have a niche right here that I want you to continue to do. I want more of these murder mystery reviews because we'll have you back on here. Patrick Sauer, contributing writer for Racket Magazine, joining us. Patrick, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And guys, coming up next on GameBreakers, we have more of the headlines I'm obsessed with, especially new Real Housewives updates for you. That's
GameBreakers.
That's GameBreakers.
We got GameBreakers.
That's the segment. I love it. Patrick, you were so good.
Thank you so much,
very
Patrick.
much.
Follow him around. Follow the article on Racket.